You are very welcome to my living room, which we are going to turn into a podcast studio if this turns out well. I'm here with my friend Plamen. We're both in the online coaching and mentoring space, and we spent the best part of a decade in the space, and we both work with a lot of people, a lot of clients, and we both get a lot of questions from followers around how to build online coaching businesses. So in the spirit of figuring out if this is firstly a good podcast studio, and also just giving some value and answering some questions and having a conversation, we've written out 20 questions, and we're going to ask each other a question each and do a bit of a quick fire Q&A and create a podcast off the back of it. So that's it. Ready, Plamen? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Oren, thank you so much for inviting me over. It's a really, really cool spot, and I'm really excited for this.
Sure, man. Yeah, we were here not too long ago before Christmas having a chill night, and we were like, it's such a big space and we should really do something with it, because we both create so much content that it would be kind of crazy to not make some use of the place, you know?
Yeah. And do you know what, like, even telling you, like, the conversation we had just before Christmas with the cigars was like if that was recorded, I think there'd be so much value in it. So I think it'd be massive.
Yeah, for sure. We spent like 3 hours with a few other guys just talking about life and AI and how future generations are going to spend their money in sales and marketing. It was actually, we should have had a camera.
Yeah.
That being said, would you like to crack ahead and tackle the first question and see what comes up?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So, Owen, first question for you. You've had someone come through is, if you were 20 and you were going to start any business today with no money, no skills, and no connections, what would it be?
It's a good question. I think just given the direction of technology and the uncertainty around what jobs and businesses and places are going to exist in the future, I would hedge my bets by going with something personal, such as coaching, because I think that human relationships and human community are going to be one of the last things to be replaced by AI. Maybe they will be replaced, who knows? But I think certainly like some form of coaching, if you have some skill or some experience that you're able to help other people with, in our case, it's building businesses. But at 20, you know, maybe you have some skills of getting yourself physically in shape. Maybe you have some skills of being good at a certain subject that you can then coach people in and pass that on and start to build a community with as well. So I would certainly go towards the coaching space. At the very worst, you're going to learn sales and marketing and human relationships, and it's going to be a massive learning experience. But it's also going to give you skills that will keep you thriving when there is this big shift in technology. So that's my thoughts. What do you think?
It's exactly what I've been thinking as well, because like you say, AI is going to keep getting better, but it can't take away the personal connections and community. So the more you can be yourself and the more you can be a normal person on social media and get across, the more you'll win, while everyone else is trying to blend in and copy each other, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've both been beating the drum of standing out and personal brand and the importance of those things. That being said, we have a question for you. It's an interesting one as well. How has your definition of success changed over the years?
I think we might have a similar perspective on this, but for me, I think coming into it, like 18 to 20, I think a lot of it was very, very much towards just making money, just grinding hard, getting in ridiculous shape, getting girls, all of this. And I think as you get older, for me personally, I start now looking at having more balance, building relationships, just enjoying life a lot more, and ultimately only working with people I enjoy working with and enjoy wanting to serve as well. I think that's kind of how it's changed for me. It's like it's gone from being like a selfish goal, coming from a place of like need and like surviving, to wanting to actually serve and help people more. So I think that's kind of how it's pivoted and changed for me over the last like 5-10 years.
Yeah, I think we all make that, I guess, mistake at some point where we just change or chase the revenue numbers. And I certainly had that experience where in 2021 or 2022, I had the most number of clients I'd ever had, hit like a 9.6K month, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it because I wasn't aligned with the clients, I wasn't aligned with the business, and it didn't feel right, even though the money was, you know, the best that I had had up until that point. So I think that's definitely something to consider for people starting out as well. who do you actually want to work with? What do you want to be known for versus just got to get to my first 5 or 10K a month?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how you find it as well. But I think ultimately, if you're constantly thinking about like money, you're very kind of in this like fight or flight mode, and you're constantly stressed, you're constantly anxious. It actually comes across in your conversations. It comes across in everything you do. So you're on a sales call, you're in DMs, people can sense you wanting to sell to them. So that doesn't help you sell either.
Yeah, I agree with that. And by the way, I think it's very important to also have a financial goal, because we both very much believe in financial goals because you can track them. They're actually they're really, at the end of the day, the only thing that matter in terms of your business actually existing, because even if you build the right business but you don't have any income, you don't have a business. So it is important, but I think that's an interesting change of definition of success.
Cool. So the next one I have for you is what should be a higher priority for what should be a higher priority, your business or your relationships?
What should be a higher priority, your business or your relationship? I am 100% of the mindset that your business should be a higher priority than your relationship. And I am dating a Ukrainian girl, and we are on the same page with that. And I think that in terms of longer term thinking, business, relationship, family, because I think that the success of your business and the financial stability that you have and the fulfillment in your job that you have will ultimately trickle down into your relationship and have a stable relationship. And potentially in the future, when like family and stuff like this comes into the picture, you don't want to be operating from a place of scarcity and chasing that next dollar. And like you said, with the talking to people in sales conversations or on sales calls, when you're needy and desperate and you need to make those sales, that's not a position that you want to be in. That will wreck your relationship long term. And so if you actually want to have a solid relationship long term, I think you have to focus on yourself, your business, and make sure that you have a stable base to then go and bring that to someone else. Because if you don't, your relationship is just going to be chaos. And that might ruffle a few feathers, but your business is 100% a higher priority than your relationship.
Yeah, and this might be very controversial as well, but I think for relationships, like wanting to provide, like a lot of the time you probably wouldn't have gone into a relationship. A girl probably wouldn't like you as much if you're a broke guy that's homeless with no money. So it will go there anyway if you don't work hard.
Of course, and it's like a controversial subject these days, right? But at the end of the day, if you're going to have a family and someone is going to start a family with you and essentially have to take time out to look after family, it's like you want to be in a position to be supportive, and you don't want your girlfriend or wife worrying about finances and where food is going to come from. So yeah, that's for me kind of a no-brainer. And I find that since I moved to Bulgaria as well, that's very normal. Like girls and guys all believe that your business is more important than your relationship. But back in the West, it's like, it's not the same. So that one could be a little bit controversial, but let's see. This one is a little bit more balanced. What's the best piece of advice, Plamen, that you've ever received?
I would say probably not being, and this is coming off the cuff, maybe better ones would come in, but I think one of the biggest was just not be afraid to be yourself and not be afraid to say what you believe and what you stand for. I think 5 to 6 years ago, I had a lot of these beliefs and all of these like things I really kind of felt in myself, but I was afraid of saying it because I didn't want to offend someone, or I didn't want to create content because it would offend people. And what was happening is I was becoming resentful of the business. I was becoming resentful of who I am because I wasn't being my true self, and I was like not saying this. The minute I started saying what I believe, I might have lost clients, I might have like ruffled more feathers, but it allowed me to kind of sleep better at night and allowed me to be kind of more fulfilled in myself as well. So I wish I took that sooner, and I just said what I felt at the time much sooner.
How did you start just being more yourself and letting that out?
I think it was like, what's the worst case scenario? It's like, what's the worst case scenario of saying it? Like, for me, like when the worst case scenario got super big, I was like, I was like drinking too much, or I was like my sleep got bad, my health got bad, like my own kind of personal habits and boundaries dropped too much. I was like, the worst case scenario is I keep like not being able to look at myself properly and not being able to act the person I want to be. then it was like, it was a no-brainer. I would just start doing more of that. And it made it a lot easier. So I think it just, for me, it spiraled too much, so I started doing it.
Yeah, kind of hit rock bottom and bounce back up. I think everyone has to do it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what have we got next?
So that was the one. So the next one, your side is, what's the easiest way to land your next 5 online coaching clients without ads or a big following?
Oh, I love this. This is right up my street because I talk about this all the time. So your next 5 coaching clients are probably already around you. They're probably in your friend group, in your social communities, in your sports clubs, in your workplace. If you're a fitness coach looking for clients, pretty much, I would say like at least 20 to 30% of the population, if not more, needs fitness coaching. Like, we're not a very healthy species at the moment. And most people are just not very good with their habits. It's difficult given the way that we live these days. But there's just clients everywhere. And people worry about, like, social media. I have to get clients from social media. The reality is, if you get like a good offer and you get clear on what you're offering people and you actually write that out so you know how long you're going to serve them, what result you're going to deliver, how much you're going to charge them, what sort of a guarantee you have of actually getting the results, and then you have a system of getting that in front of people, which is what we use in my community is the social circle selling system. And it's just getting in front of people through your existing network, leveraging any kind of connections that you have. And the reality is, if you need, say, 40 clients as a fitness coach to hit 6 figures, 40 people are not that difficult to find. So create a great offer, get it in front of as many people as possible, and you will have no problem picking up your next 5 clients. Like, 5 clients in 30 days is pretty much achievable for anyone if they're willing to put in the work. But you have to get the offer in front of people. You have to think about the offer. And it's really, really simple. Sure, to actually build a business longer term, you need more systems and processes. But literally just writing out a list of 100 people, coming up with a brilliant offer that's a no-brainer offer, and then having skilled conversations, which you can talk all about, you're going to get 5 clients. It's not a difficult thing to do. It just takes a little bit of you actually doing the work, essentially. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, right?
Yeah. I think for me as well, I think most people, myself included, because I've done this, is they're too afraid to actually go out and speak to people they know. So they're like, I'll just post content and I'll create a landing page and I'll put a Stripe link in my stories and I'll not speak to anyone. No one's going to say no, and I'll get lots of clients. So I think a lot of it is like, I reckon you could probably build a 5K per month coaching business or 5K in a month without kind of any social media content, with just going on your friends list on your Facebook and just messaging the people you know and the people they know as well.
100%. Yeah, I've had a client basically do that. He got like 30 clients and he did like 3 Instagram posts in like the first 6 months of 2024. And now we're building out Instagram as well. But for sure, I think one of the other things is just people think that people are scared to sell to their friends, for example. But you don't have to sell to your friends. I can text you and say, hey, Plamen, I'm launching this offer next week. It's perfect for middle-aged guys who want to lose 10 kilos of body fat. Do you know someone who fits that demographic? And if you could make an introduction, I'd really appreciate it. And if we're good friends, you'll be like, yeah, sure, I work with this guy called John and he needs your help. So yeah, I think that's a pretty straightforward way to get your next 5 clients. Write that one down. Go and do it. And let us know in the comments if you did it and if you got the clients. Next one. Okay. What's been the biggest mental shift going from 1K to 10K per month?
Just more belief that you can do it. I'd say is the biggest, and I think at 1K per month, you almost think like everything's like that. Like, you're working so hard, you're super stressed, and you don't really see the ceiling of what you can do. Mm-hmm. I think it was more working with mentors, being around communities of people doing higher numbers. You realize like you're not doing that much. It's like going in the gym and doing like a 60 kilo bench press for the first time, and you see someone doing like 3 plates a side, and you're like, oh, there's so much more to this game. So I think it's just more belief that you can do it, and also like believing that you can do it, but also just seeing other people and like yeah, just not thinking everything is a scam and not thinking like, oh, they can't do it, it must be a scam, it can't be true. So more belief and more kind of big action to do it, and also like obsessing over like the money making tasks in a business, because when I was doing 1K a month, I was just doing like pointless stuff like
Canva graphics.
Yeah, Canva graphics. I had a Wix website. I had like an email list, and like it's all good stuff to have. But when you have like 40 people on an email list and you're not making much money, there's bigger stuff to do. That's just messaging people, booking calls would probably make you much more money quicker.
Yeah, for sure. And both things there. We have some mutual friends. We were at a mastermind recently, and people in the room were doing like 100 grand a month and more. And when you're in that environment, you suddenly go, hey, 10K a month is not that big. You kind of feel. Yeah. So if you're someone who's in the 1K per month or 2K or 3K per month, you should really be doing everything you can to get around people who are at the next level, and it will change your beliefs, and it will show you, again, what to be focusing on, because a lot of coaches are busy, but they're not busy doing shit that makes money. They're busy just doing shit, and it's like, if you actually just narrowed it down to this 1 hour of things that actually produces you revenue and results and clients, and then focus on getting those clients a great result, you don't need most of the other shit.
Yeah, and I hate to break it to a lot of people, but like coaches that are, and I speak to coaches like this a lot as well. They're like, I do market research, and it's like, what does market research look like? I just go on TikTok for like an hour.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I think you're up.
Cool.
For sure.
So, how many hours per day should you work to be successful?
Oh, this is a good follow-on from the last question. So one of the things that I've done in my community over the last week or so is to get really, really clear on the actual daily actions and tasks that people should be taking. And I work with people. Some people have 10 to 12 hours a week. They have a full-time job. Some people have a part-time job, or they work in the gym, but they have like 15 clients in the gym, so they still have time on the side. They can do like 15, 20 hours, maybe even a week on their coaching business. For me, I can do anywhere from like 30 to 60, depending on what I choose. And it really comes down to what your end goal is, and then the time that you actually want to work. Like your definition of success also, right? Because your definition of success change. So when it comes to how many hours should you work to be successful, I think that's an equation that you have to work out. Firstly, you have to work out what is successful, because you don't know how many hours you have to work. So I can give you my own example right now, because I'm documenting my journey. And my goal rate at the end of 2025, revenue-wise, is 250K run rate going into 2026. That's what success looks like to me in the year of 2025. In order to get that, I need to like reverse engineer and go, okay, well, what does that equate to in terms of sales and client numbers? And for me, it works out at about a client a week. A little bit less, by the way. If I got a client a week, I would be over it by probably 10 or 15%. But I'm aiming for a client a week to hit that target. And then I just really have to go, okay, well, this is success. I need a client a week for the year to be successful, and I need to deliver to my own clients so they stay on board. Then I just have to figure out how many hours a week it takes me to get a client. And that could be 2 hours if I'm like really efficient with what I do, or it could be 40 hours. Right now, obviously, we're creating content, we're doing YouTube, and I also want to build my brand. And you mentioned an email list. I want to build my email list and give more value in my private community there as well. So there's lots of things that are not directly attached to the revenue goal, but are things that I want to build. So I choose to work a lot of hours because I love to. But at the same time, it's a Friday. We spent the last couple of hours messing around here. Had a bit of a disaster trying to get the fire going. Didn't work out. Turned out we hadn't cleaned it properly. I hadn't, hands up. But the point is here, we've kind of taken a good chunk of our Friday off because we choose to, and we enjoy doing this content, even though it's probably not revenue generating content, certainly not in the short term. So I think the answer there is define success, define the actions needed to get to that success, work out how many hours you want to work or you need to work to hit that target, and then work whatever number of hours you want to work beyond that because you enjoy doing it. And I think that's how many hours you should work.
And one thing I got told about this, like I guess maybe to tie it all together as well, is like someone told me like your productivity and your schedule should really come down into 3 buckets. Like money now is like probably stuff that's going to make you money in the next like hour or two. So like sending messages, calling people. Money later is like content and email lists and stuff like that. And then money maintenance is like coaching clients and asking them for referrals. So I found that to be quite useful. Like anything that probably falls outside of these 3 brackets is probably not.
It's not important.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Because just get your clients great results. And I see a lot of people making the mistake as well, where they have a shitty service, or they just sell like a 6-week program, but they don't have like a client journey. They don't have a long-term roadmap for their clients. And so they're working so hard to sign clients up, and then the clients stay for 6 weeks and then they drop off because there's no next step for the client. So you want to make sure that you're not working so hard on these tasks and then filling a bucket that's got loads of holes in the bottom and it's just constant. I think it's me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting one. So, Plamen, did you have an I made it moment? And if so, what was that moment?
For some reason, 2 came to mind actually that come to mind. One that I thought would make me happy, and one that actually made me happy, I guess. Like the one I thought would make me happy might be similar to yourself. And I remember this day like super clearly. I was in Istanbul at the time. It was like maybe 2 years ago-ish. And I remember like it was the first time that my Stripe went over 10K. Like it just did 10K in one month. And I remember like it was like 2 days maybe left of the month. And I remember going out for a walk on this main street, and like I was alone, I was working hard, I was grafting, and like I attached so much like emotion towards hitting that number that I hit it, and I was just like, I still had this like energy, and like it almost felt like a release in a weird way. I was like, I want to prove all these people wrong, I want to do this. Like I bet like all the school bullies I had, like I bet they'd like, I wonder what they'd say now if they were seeing me. Well, like that's when I realized no one actually truly cared all along. So it's like that weird moment of like, I've been on this journey, but like no one actually cared after high school. No one cared about how much money I'm making. No one even knows. I'm not gonna like post a screenshot on my stories. And I think after that, the next one that kind of then made me more grounded was just being able to help others. Like being able to, I think just one that comes to mind is like 23. I think last year or the year before, booking my parents in for a holiday. That felt so much more like worthwhile, more real than anything else. So I think that's when I realised it's not about me as much as I make it out to be.
Yeah, I share that one with you. I sent my parents to Rome. I can't even remember, 2 years ago maybe, or 3 years ago. But it was just very nice to be able to be like, hey, I'm sending you to Rome. Thanks for putting up with me for all these years, and hopefully I can give something back. So
and how we found out, because that's when it all felt real. Like seeing numbers on Stripe and anything like that, like doesn't really feel as real as being able to help others, and especially my parents. And I guess for you, similar.
Yeah, I think for me, just small things, even like picking up subscriptions for my family members, and paying Netflix subscriptions, and small things that previously I couldn't do, and it doesn't seem like a big thing. Or when I'm with my family and there's 200 euros of a food shop, to just pay the bill and buy all the food for everyone and be like, no, it's my contribution. So I think those small things, and of course the big things like holidays and helping them there. One other thing was I actually donated a big lump of money to a guy who was rowing the Atlantic in a rowing boat, and that was like, it was quite cool because I'd had some conversations with him before, and I was trying to attempt a challenge similar to that like 3 years ago, and he was helping us, but it all fell through. We didn't get the money that we needed. And then like 3 years later, he was trying to make it work, and he was like struggling for money. And I like sent him €1,000, which was like all the other donations on the page were like €20, €30, €50. I was like, fuck it, €1,000. And he like came back to me. He put my logo in his boat. I didn't want that, by the way, but it was just really cool to be able to be in a position where I'm like, I can actually just do something good here, which it was the only time I had ever given away that amount of money, you know. But it was amazing to just be like, this guy's risking his life. I can give away like this amount of money to support him. So that was pretty cool for me as well.
Yeah. And that's massive. And for me, like looking back on it now as well, like this kind of stuff, like my parents, for example, like when stuff gets hard, and like it has gotten hard over the last like 2 years, there's been moments where I've been like, you know, this is hard. There's a lot of like stress, overwhelm, anxiety. Like we've spoken off camera a lot. Like being able to also push from a place of like, I've done this. How much more can I do for them? It's been quite cool. Whereas before, up to this point, it's always been like anger and like dark energy of like trying to prove people wrong.
Yeah. Now it's like you want to be the rock, right?
Yeah. Just keep like, I was like, it's been quite cool. Like if the journey ends tomorrow and like it all falls apart, like I've been able to do this for them, so I want to keep doing it, trying to do more.
Awesome, man.
Awesome.
I love that.
So you have the next one, which is, why do most online coaches fail in their first year, and how can you avoid it?
I think that people just massively overestimate what they can achieve in the first year. And I think, like we spoke about already, coaches spend a lot of time doing shit that doesn't make money. You don't need to worry about a logo. Nobody cares about your logo, and it doesn't make you money. But it can take 5 hours of your time figuring out, how can I get the right logo? What color should it be? People buying branded hoodies and stuff like this when they don't even have any clients. I think people just put their priorities in the wrong place. And I think one of the biggest mistakes is that coaches just go it alone and they do all this stuff that doesn't actually make sense, that doesn't produce revenue, results, clients. I think the other thing is that they don't understand the value of clients, and they try and get their social media right. They try and get their knowledge and their education to the next level. They're like doing all this stuff, but they're not getting clients. And you will become a better coach by just getting clients. So like all my guys, as soon as they come in, even if they literally have just finished their PT course, I'm like, bang, 5 clients this month, let's go. And then they have 5 clients and they're like learning on the job. All of a sudden they're getting client results, they're getting testimonials, they're getting referrals. And it's like getting momentum for the business to start. And then we worry about all that back end shit. Like now you can worry about a logo or a program name. Because reality is, we probably both had this, over time all that stuff changes anyway. And I've changed logos, I've changed program names, I've had different ideas, I've coached people in different programs. That stuff just evolves. So you have to just start with get clients, start getting results, start getting testimonials, prioritize the things that get clients, and get help to do all that. Because the reality is, if you don't know what you're doing, that's just going to be really hard to do, and it's going to take you a lot longer, and it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and it's like, I think I have this conversation a lot, and I see it in DMs as well. Is like people be like, I literally had this morning. Someone was like, I'm taking some time to reassess my business because something's clearly not working. I'll be right back when I reassess it. It's like,
yeah, it's like, I need to get a haircut. I'm going to just cut half my hair and then go to the barbers and get the rest.
Yeah.
Or my car needs a service. Well, I'll just change the oil myself first and then bring it for a service.
I'll keep trying to like fail on my own for like until I make lots of money, and then I'll get a business mentor. Like it's
see you in 10 years. Yeah. People. Yeah. This is like. Yeah. This is probably the biggest mistake I see. I could ramble, but I'm not going to ramble. If it comes up, I'll ramble about it. So, on a more positive note, what's one habit that helped you the most in growing your business?
One habit, I guess, this year or at least 2020, in the last 3 to 4 months that I've personally neglected a lot, and I've realised how important it is just being able to go to the gym more often and have that as a pillar, in the sense that like I'm not very good at like meditating, I'm not very good at like doing all of these stuff. Like I need something to keep me grounded, and I found there's something very like primal about being able to go to the gym, and like that you hold onto a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and a lot of energy without realizing it. So just taking like 45 minutes a few times a week, not even from like a body shape and health perspective, but just going towards just training to clear your mind, I think it's massive in terms of being able to operate at a high level as a business owner and make better decisions.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think hopefully the people listening to this are on the same page as well, because it's just so fundamental to how you feel. and how you perform. And I think you mentioned meditating, and like I'm trying to meditate. Well, not I'm trying. I'm pretty good with consistency of meditation and journaling. And they're great and I love them, but they ain't got a patch on the gym. Like me going throwing around a few 100 kilos and just smashing some big weights and just feeling like the Incredible Hulk for an hour, and then coming back and realizing I'm not actually the Incredible Hulk. I'm still only 82 kg. I'm not Mr. Olympia or anything like that, but it just makes you feel so good. And like that, I don't really have particular body composition goals. I want to look good, feel good, but it's really just daily discipline as well. It's like daily discipline, keeping yourself fit and healthy, just feeling good about yourself, and blasting away that stress.
Yeah, and I've made a mistake, and it's like one of my biggest goals this year is like to have the gym as the pillar, because I've said to myself in previous years, like 2022 even, where I've like work's the most important. I like idolize like Elon Musk probably doesn't train, but it's like you're nowhere near. You're like I'm nowhere near, and I think it's just that limiting belief again. It's just coming back to all of that. It's like you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how much more is possible and how much more you're kind of holding yourself back.
Yeah, and I don't think you can compare Elon.
Yeah.
It's if you look at 95% of people, they will perform way better going to the gym. Absolutely. And then you just have, of course, you have like these outliers who are just like crazy, but that's not most people. Like not most people could not handle the stress of being Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. So how do I stop wasting time on social media and actually grow my business?
It's so difficult. So one of the biggest keys for me this year that I implemented that helped me massively overcome this was changing my social media medium from the phone to the laptop. So if I'm posting reels or I'm posting video content, I'm using my phone for the most part. But most of the day, or most of the days, I'm starting the day without my phone. It's actually locked in a box. I don't know if I have the box there. No, I don't. If I had the box there, I would show you. I have a nice lock box. Put the phone in, set the timer, it gets locked in. So before I go to bed at like 10 p.m., I lock the phone in there for 12 hours. Can't get it out till 10 a.m. the next morning. And I do like my writing, and I do my conversations and my outreach and all that stuff from the desktop on Instagram, and I use a newsfeed eradicator. So you go to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, any of these platforms, no newsfeed, no suggested videos, no content. And it's a game changer because you can now actually use these, but you're just using them as output, not input. Because most coaches are probably sitting on their phones just stuck scrolling, seeing other coaches' content, and then getting stuck in their own heads about, I'm not good enough, this guy is doing better, I should be doing this. And they just overthink it, and they get lost in social media, and they just don't do the basic shit that makes money and gets clients. And for me, my phone is probably my biggest nemesis. Like when I have my phone use locked down, my business grows. And when I'm being sloppy and my phone use is not locked down, which happens every now and then, especially when I travel and stuff, my behaviors and my habits are just not as good, and that's something that I'm putting a real focus on. So yeah, that's what works for me. You could have two phones, like a social media phone, a work phone. I don't do that because it's just another variable, but I basically try and remove as much work from the phone as possible. And then in the evening, after I've done like my day's work, yeah, sure, I'll be on social media and scrolling and like, but at that point I've done my work. I've moved the business forward, and I also then like plan things. Like when I go out with Xenia, we just like turn our phones off, or we're like, okay, we're together, phones away. We're not going to spend time on our phones as well. So just also having strict rules on that too, I think helped me.
I have a friend who's meticulous at tracking it as well, and he does it exceptionally well, but he has a spreadsheet tracker that he tracks like every hour of his day, and he color codes like if it was productive or if it was not. And he's like the most productive person in the world. Like he's like has like 6 a.m. I did this, and he fills it out by the hour. And I was like, that's extremely clever in terms of like similar to what you say in terms of like if you track your money, you probably get better. If you track your calories, you probably lose weight for the most part. If you track your time, you're probably more productive.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think I don't track by the hour. I'm tracking by the task at the moment. Yeah. So I have a nice tracker in Notion as well, where when you tick off things, it gives you a percentage at the end.
Cool.
So at the end of each week, you can go, okay, where did I actually spend my time? And I don't mind myself wasting some time so long as I get all of the important shit done. Yeah. After that, I can do whatever I want. Okay. What advice would you give to somebody who is stuck at £1,000 per month?
To, I think personally, get much more intentional about making money and like what are the money making tasks in your business. If you're making £1,000, if you're stuck at £1,000, you probably haven't really got like a proper offer built out that you can sell for like a slightly higher price point, because if you have like a 3-month or 6-month or even a 12-month program built out that you can sell, then you sell one of these a month, you probably make like a lot more money per month. But I think in general, just get much more intentional with like making money and get out of trying to be a systems person or trying to be like a marketer. At £1,000 a month, you're effectively like a salesperson. So you just need to be really, really intentional with like sending messages, having conversations, booking calls and closing them. As that builds and you have more clients and you have more referrals, I think that's when you can kind of start building it. But like the fulfillment of £1,000 business shouldn't be that high for a coaching business. So you're probably wasting a lot of time doing stuff you shouldn't be doing.
Sure. Unless the £1,000 is 10 clients at £100 per month, which is a problem, by the way. One of my best clients in 2024, and I say best because he did incredibly well, but he also was there for a long time and really, really good guy. But when I first met him, he was charging €100 a month for coaching, and he was giving people really good coaching. And I immediately was like, dude, you need to double that right now. And he didn't want to do it, but I pushed him to, and then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, he made a sale, 600 for 90 days, and he's like, I'm never going back to €100 again. So it's amazing how much people don't understand pricing and stuff as well, which then can lead to making very little money and doing a lot of work or just also wasting time.
Yeah. And I guess for your client as well, like if he doubled it, and like even if half the people said no, so even if he doubled it to current people that are paying him, if he lost half the clients, he would still make the same money and do half the work. So it's like,
for sure. And the client buy-in would be better.
Yeah.
Like the people would make more effort because it costs them more and they're actually more invested in the process. I think this is actually you.
Yeah.
I love this iPad setup, by the way. It's so good.
What's the biggest mistake you see in online coaches at the start of their journey? Or what's the biggest mistake you see online coaches making at the start?
The biggest mistake that I see coaches making is, I think what we talked about already, where they're almost waiting for the right moment. They're waiting until they have a few more clients. They're waiting until they're a little bit more educated. They're waiting till they've got this next course or certification. They're waiting for the right moment. They're waiting because financially they don't feel they're stable. All of these things can be fixed by getting a few clients. And the things that you're waiting for are all solvable problems if you're in and around someone who has the solutions and the know-how and can just give you the systems and be like, do this, do this, do this. Don't do any of that bullshit. And then people will make a positive ROI in a very short period of time. So I think there's a lack of action and sitting on the sidelines, waiting, not taking some small level of perceived risk. And then also just trying to get out of the position they're currently in without enlisting some help. Like, how many mentors have you worked with?
I'd say close to 10 at this point. I'd say.
Yeah, I'm probably like 7.
Cool. Similar, yeah.
And 7 plus like fitness coaches and I've been coached by fitness coaches and stuff too, which you learn stuff from as well. We didn't get here by doing it ourselves. We got here by investing in mentorships, by learning from people who are ahead of us, by taking big action like you mentioned earlier. And I think that's really just the big stumbling block. Like, you can stumble your way to the goal and take 5 years, or you can literally get there in 20% of the time and just shortcut the whole process by getting someone's knowledge who's already been there.
Yeah, and the thing I find funny as well is like people say like, oh, like business mentors courses, like it's a scam, or you can find it on Google. Like the biggest thing I find with that, which is really interesting, is like the people that are saying it. Like, would you change their position? Would you be in their shoes if you could, or would you be in the other guy's position? It's like an anonymous comment on YouTube calling you a scam, or calling you like that's never paid you or never works with you, or someone that's like living in their mom's basement, like creating a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Saying like this guy's a scammer because he rents out like whatever it might be. Like I see this a lot on YouTube and social media, and it's like, would you trade positions? I think that's the easiest mental reframe. Would you trade positions with a person that you're listening to as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's it's also a good frame for, should I take advice from this person? And if you are not willing to swap positions with that person, of course you might not want their whole life, but maybe you're taking business advice from someone. Would you want the business that they have? If the answer is no, don't take their advice. Stay well away. But if you're like, yes, I like what they have, that's what I want, and they give you advice, why would you not take it? It's insane.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest mistake. It's people waiting, and I think just a lot of excuses that hold them back. And I know it's difficult, by the way, to take action, because there is fears and doubts, and a lot of it is self-doubt as well. Sometimes it's not even doubt in a mentor or someone helping. It's just self-doubt, like, I'm not good enough, I can't action this. And I see that a lot with people, and that's why you need to, as a mentor, and I'm sure you do this as well, like, just really support people. And that's something that comes up as well a lot with my clients, where they come for the systems and the sales and the marketing, but then they actually stay for the community and the support and the accountability and the fact that they're in this environment where other people are winning, and there's someone comes in with their first 5 clients, and then they see someone who's just about to hit 50 clients, and they're like, fuck, this is achievable. It's actually legit. It's real. Yeah. So yeah.
It's having that, and it's like, I don't know how you found the mentors you've worked with, but one of the biggest traits I've seen with the mentors I've had over the years is they just take like aggressive action, and they have a lot of, like, even similar to yourself, like they have a huge amount of self-belief, and they just take aggressive action. They just like implement really, really fast. And that's like the stuff I'm like, okay, if they do it and they're ahead of me, I should probably try and imitate like self-belief and aggressive action to move forward.
Yeah, that's what moves the wheels.
That's my observation, but again, there might be other stuff. Yeah, there definitely is.
For sure. What's next? How do you handle overwhelm, anxiety, and stress? This is a great question, by the way. I'm interested to hear your answer.
It's a tough one for sure, because one thing I've heard somewhere, like, which was really interesting, is like overwhelm, anxiety, stress is all energy, and it can't necessarily be destroyed, but it can be channeled into other things. I know when I've been like really stressed and really anxious and overwhelmed, I think sometimes in those moments, one of the worst things I can do is take that energy and take the anxious thought processes and just try and work. And this is the hardest lesson I've taken actually over in last year. Is like I've been really stressed and really anxious, and I've tried to take that energy and that kind of mental frame and just be like fuck it, I'll fix this right now, or I wouldn't go home, like, or I'll just stay and work all night until I fix it. And I think that kind of can do much more harm the next day, because you're in that frame of mind where you're like I'm annoyed, I'm angry. So sometimes when you're in that state of mind, just taking yourself away for like an hour, 2 hours, like a night and evening, can actually make it a lot easier. For overwhelm, just journaling stuff down as well. But realizing, like, in the space of an online business, I think there's nothing that's like truly urgent that needs to be done on the hour. Like, unless you've left your taxes for like the deadline, like nothing's truly that urgent to be done like right away. So sometimes creating a bit of a gap, and I'm still genuinely trying to get better at it, but creating a bit of a gap and like realizing that the situation is probably not as deep and not as personal as you kind of probably think it is as well.
Yeah, I experienced that a little bit earlier. We tried to light the fire, and I think I was just setting up for the podcast. I wasn't thinking, and I realized that after I tried to light the fire and it wouldn't light, and I burned like tons of paper and stuff to try and get it burning. I realized that the tray had not been cleaned out and there was no airflow through. And I was just really frustrated. And I said to you and Ksenia, I was like, I'll be back in 1 minute, guys. And I went into my room and I was just like, I want to smash the room up. I want to break something. But I'm going to just chill, splash my face, relax for a minute. It's not the end of the world. So I saw that on a micro level for myself. But I think that's really good advice as well, because especially when we're on social media, there's this constant sense of urgency. If you're not doing it, somebody else is. And I think also with that question that you asked earlier about how many hours in the day should you work, you should also like factor in some just downtime for yourself. And one of my non-negotiables for this year, supposedly non-negotiable, we'll see how it works out, is having Saturdays off just to recharge the batteries. Because I would work every day, by the way. I love what I do. And I think you're probably the same. I would happily work every day. But Saturdays off, I think just to decompress and slow you down a little bit is a good idea.
Yeah, because it's so easy to get triggered as well. You go on social media, like everyone's marketing something slightly differently. So especially, and this is like something that people probably shouldn't do, is like follow competitors or watch their stories all the time, like personal trainers. But it's easy to see someone saying, like another fitness coach in this example, saying like, oh, you shouldn't do this type of diet or you shouldn't do this coaching. You take it personally because he's like taking a hit at your thing, at your methodology. But it's like, it's not that deep. Everyone's trying to capture attention.
Yeah, and I think a good thing for anyone watching who uses social media and struggles with seeing competitors. So if you're a coach or you're in the online fitness space and you see other competitors and they're posting better content, or at least content that you perceive to be better, they're working with more clients, they've got more results, you may find yourself in this position where you're going, why would anyone work with me? Why is that something that gets you so much? Well, maybe you just don't have the kind of social proof for yourself to back it up. But like tactically, you can just mute those people. And I actually mute tons of people who are coaches or mentors as well. And it's not because of any reason other than I don't really want to see their stuff, because I'm not selling to them, firstly. So like I want to support them, but I don't want to be bombarded with their stuff because I want to connect with the people who I'm trying to work with. So just muting or restricting people who either trigger you or just you want to be connected with, but you don't necessarily need to see all their stuff. It's just the nature of the game, and nobody will take it personally. And if it's good for you, I think that's a good thing to do. It's something I recommend my guys to do. If there's someone who keeps flashing up and they're feeling bad about it or it's triggering them, I'm like, just mute all their stuff. Like you can deal with the inner game stuff after and like figure out why it's triggering you. But in the short term, just fucking get rid of it.
And one thing, actually, the last point on this as well, I've never seen it work and I've never seen it play off like a good level, and I've done this myself a lot, is when you're in that state of being angry, being emotional, being stressed, going off and creating content, like taking digs at people or doing stories or like saying, I can't believe I've seen this, I'm so annoyed. Like that kind of energy, I think, is never good, and it never plays off in the long term on social media, and people kind of start to switch off a lot of it. So like if you're going to be angry and if you're feeling stressed, the last thing you probably want to do is like create content like at that point, or create stories.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so how can small habits outside of coaching transform your business results?
This is a really good question. I think so one small habit for me that has been very transformational is journaling. Because at the end of the day, I think business doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be very simple, like we've discussed here. And I think a lot of the time people just don't do the shit that they're supposed to do on a daily basis. Hand up, myself included. Like I struggle with procrastination, not now because I've done the work, and I'll tell you of one habit that's helped me, but I used to procrastinate a lot. I used to get stuck scrolling. I used to get stuck with comparison of what other people were doing, all this stuff. I started journaling like 4 or 5 years ago, but I went through periods of being really consistent, and it just helped me to bring my awareness to where I was going off track, where I was wasting my energy and wasting my time in my day. And it helped me to be more conscious of the things I was doing unconsciously, which basically then freed up spare time in my day to actually work on the things that made results. And then another thing is just the gym. So like when I'm feeling stressed, my default is to like work out. I'm like hitting the floor doing burpees for 10 minutes nonstop. I'm going to the gym, I'm smashing weights. And that just allows me to positively channel that energy and that stress, and then come back, feel better, and actually be able to work on creative stuff and stuff that grows.
Yeah, and it's like the gym is probably going to take you like, an hour of your day, so worth that 1 hour to come back and actually have the mental bandwidth and focus to actually move things forward as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think we're both in agreement on that. How do you stay motivated when things are feeling uncertain?
You almost need to embrace it, I find. Like, you almost need to embrace, like, that it's going to be uncertain. Like, you get into this game of working for yourself and doing your own thing and trying to carve your own path. Like, you almost need to get used to knowing that it's going to be uncertain. And, like, I think that's, like, will remove a lot of pressure in the beginning. If you're like, okay, this is going to be tough, this is going to be uncertain, it's going to be quite hard at times. I think just setting those expectations at the start makes it a lot easier. I'd say that would be the first biggest. And then second of all of them that just in the last maybe 2 years I've kind of started to slowly get better at is remind myself and have more proof of the stuff I've done and more proof of like concept in a way and proof of myself and my ability. It makes it a lot easier because I'm like, okay, if I did this 4 years ago and if I've done this since like 17, I'm like now 25, I've been doing this for a while, there's probably like stuff at like 19, 20, like I thought that's the end of the world and I wouldn't be able to cope, but I have. So like if I've done it then, why can I not do it now? So having more proof of concept, even like stuff like reminding myself of like taking my parents on holiday, like reminding myself of all the clients I've helped, like I think there's like 25 plus video reviews and video testimonials over the years, like all of this stuff like that I've done over the years. I think that kind of proof of concept in myself has actually been quite big as well. It's like if I've done it before, why would I not be able to do it now, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I tell my guys as well. If they have video testimonials and they're feeling, sometimes they're going into a call, for example, with a potential client and they're not feeling very confident. I'm like, go and watch your client testimonials. Watch 3 testimonials before your call and you will go into that call with just so much more belief and so much less doubt and ready to go as well.
Yeah, it's a game changer. And it's like I think it's just knowing like the worst, like reminding yourself of that and having that energy as well. It's like times it will be tough, but it's like, especially like at the hardest times, the when things get really, really overwhelming and really stressful at any point, like don't try and focus on the next year and don't try and focus on the next like 6 months or 5 years ahead. Just think, what's the one problem I need to solve like today to move forward? And I think that can also like remove a lot of stress. Like, and if you're like a mess and your life is chaos and you're like not eating well, you're not sleeping well, the easiest thing you can do is just think, okay, the one problem would probably be like get myself in order, get my room tidy, go to the gym, and then I can think clearly. It's like the stuff Jordan Peterson says a lot, like clear your bed and like make up your room and stuff like that. So I think what's the one most pressing problem to solve?
Solve that.
Yeah. just going from there.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Cool, amazing. Why is community the future of coaching in 2025?
Various reasons. One, so I used to think that one-to-one mentorship was always better than community because most of the time it's priced higher. Yeah. But I actually have changed my opinion on that. And I actually think, I don't necessarily think one is better than the other, but I think that community, even as me who's in mentorships and part of communities, a lot of the time the value that I get isn't just now from the teaching and the learning, it's more so from the support and being in an environment of people doing the same thing and just being kept accountable by others, aside from just a mentor. And I think that community is just so valuable and it's enjoyable. It's actually nice to be part of a group of people. It's nice to be a part of a group of guys or girls or, a mixed group working on this big business goal or working on this next thing. It's nice to contribute and to help others and then to also get helped. And I think in most communities there's a nice balance where there's people who are slightly ahead and are helping the people below, and the people below are slightly getting help from the people ahead. And then when new people come in, the dynamic flips, and then you're in your community, you're at the top of the food chain teaching down. And if you're a member of another community, you're likely paying into a mentorship or a community of someone at the next level. And so you're somewhere in there and there's somebody at the top of the food chain there and it's trickling down. And so all this information is coming down, but you're getting so much context and nuance from all the other different people discussing these problems and implementing solutions and strategies to different circumstances. So you learn so much more in a community, and I think you get a much better context of whatever it is, sales, marketing, business. I think you get so much context from community. I think it's more enjoyable. And then aside from the fact that I think just the value out of a community is super, super high, I also think that community is going to be one of the only things that doesn't get replicated by AI. Like, people crave human connection now more than ever. Like, people are actually lonelier now. They're less connected to other people now, even though we're like more connected through social media. We're actually less connected and people are lonely, and people actually value human interaction and they value being part of something like that. And I think technology is only going one way, right? It's not going to transgress. We're not going to go backwards in technology. It's going to be more and more and more and more at a faster and faster and faster rate. And so I think that community is going to play a huge role going forward, where people crave that human connection and people start to see the value in communities a lot more. And I think the whole coaching space is shifting towards that. We see it already with school communities. We see it already with masterminds. We see it already with just the whole way, even like content and stuff as well. People want to be part of groups. You know, they like group discussions. They like to hear different people discussing different topics. We're more interested now in communities versus individuals overall. And I think individuals are very important to lead their communities, but a lot of the value in retention as a coach is going to be in having a good community where people may get the result, but then they stay for the community.
And it turns into like a much more passive kind of like long-term play as well, because one-to-one mentorship, like you say, people learn the skill, or even one-to-one coaching for fitness, people join a 3-month or 6-month program, they get the result, they can leave like after that. They're like, I've not really done it, I've not really got anything else to work towards, quite bored. But if they've got a community, like you say, I imagine it will stick around, like Slimming World and 75 Hard. It's like those stuff like pop off because it's like lots of people doing it, like weighing themselves and like doing the shares or the stories together. I think that's probably what most people, I guess, fitness wise, like you say, are missing as well.
Yeah, and I think just from a pure business standpoint, it makes sense to have more than one offering where people can come in, they can work with you one-to-one, and then they don't need that, but they still want to be part of something while not paying for one-to-one mentorship. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're on the same page there. If you had to define happiness in one word, what would it be?
So it's a bit more than one word, but I'd say service to others. I think it's so easy to look at social media, it's so easy to look at what we're being told and be like, I need to make lots of money, I need to have a car, I have a nice car. And like I definitely have these goals as well, and I definitely have the money goals, but I think happiness and fulfillment for me is most coming from a place of like, how can I serve others and how can I impact and help others like you would before. And if you go in like everything with like, am I serving others? Am I serving my clients? Am I serving my followers with the content I'm creating? It's an easier play because it's like you're doing it from a place of what do people want, and am I giving this rather than trying to do stuff just for the sake of doing it, or just trying to do stuff to feed your own ego as well, I guess.
Yeah. I think like happiness is, again, it's like the success, right? Like, what's your actual definition of happiness? Because we can't just walk around all day like, life is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think you can find a lot of like fulfillment and enjoyment in your work. And I think for me, and I didn't even really notice this much, but Ksenia calls me on it every time. She's like, when your clients get results, you are so happy. I'm like jumping around the room, like, yes, got 5 clients, yes. You know, cursing, jumping around, like more excited for my clients than I am for myself. And I don't even realize that until like other people point it out. And I'm like, oh, actually, I'm like, when am I happiest? Like actually after taking one-to-one calls with clients. And it's kind of crazy because, you know, we do work towards these big goals, but you can actually find so much fulfillment just in your day-to-day by actually helping people to get results. And then, of course, that also builds your business and your future as well. And it works towards those big goals. And I think that's the beauty of coaching as well. Like the incentives are so aligned. Like if you want to build a really good coaching business and make a lot of money, buy the expensive cars, have the nice houses, you have to get people brilliant results. Like that's the only way to actually stay in business long term as well. Like you have to be really good at what you do. And so the incentives are so aligned. It's like my incentive is to give you a great experience. And then you also get so much fulfillment and enjoyment from delivering on that for people as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And I used to always think like before as well, first seeing like at the very start, seeing the content on Instagram, like when I didn't have a business, like I'd see like motivational content, and I used to always think like happiness would be like the car, the Ferrari, the island somewhere, like the beach resort somewhere, like being on the beach with nothing to do, like nothing going on. But I think honestly, I'd get so bored, and we might be on the same like level. I'd get so bored within like the first few days. I'd be like, what can I do? What can I build? Or what's the challenge I can actually put myself through? So I think I'm genuinely like happiest now, and I think I'll probably be happiest building stuff.
Yeah.
Then I don't think there will be a point where I'll be like much happier than.
Yeah, I would happily work every day as well. Like, but I think it's most people don't have that because they're not working something that they enjoy or they're aligned with, or they may be working with the wrong clients, and they are just, you know, struggling to get by, and they haven't actually built out a vision for themselves and stuff as well. So
yeah, for sure. So the next one for you is, what's one system every coach needs to scale their business while working less?
I think the one system that they need to, I would break it down to 3. I think there's 3 things that you need. You need some form of leverage delivery. So you need to be able to deliver to more than one person at once. And this is another reason for community. And this is, I think, if I had to answer one, because I know the question is one, so I'm going to say leverage delivery, because then you can focus all of your time on marketing and getting people in, and you can scale that way. But imagine that you have a very hands-on service and you work with 10 clients, but you give them like 5 hours of your time each week. Well, you're just capped at 10 clients. Like you can't scale that any further. Yes, you can up the prices, but you can't really scale it infinitely. If you've got some sort of a system where you can handle a lot of people, so some sort of a community, and you can have your one-to-one where people then stay on in the community after, that's the most important place to start, because then you can provide value to that community as a group instead of like spending all of your time with one-to-one people. And we see this with pretty much everything. If you ever onboard into some program, if you onboard into a coaching program or a mentorship or any kind of program at all, the coach doesn't come and answer all the frequently asked questions on like a 5-hour one-to-one call. Okay, this is all the frequently asked questions. He's got some document prepared. He's got a video prepared. Watch this, start here. This is the starter pack. This is what you should know. And we get this with pretty much everything. We get this, like if you buy a new car these days, you get like a video walkthrough of how the car functions and all of this kind of stuff. People don't want to spend their time answering the same things over and over again. But if we're not in a leveraged delivery model, and we're just doing like very, very high effort, time intensive one-to-one, we can't really like get out of that. So I think that's the first thing. If you have a way to deliver to a lot of people at once, that then frees up your time to work on the sales and the marketing and those elements. Of course, after that, you need a sales system that works, which is quite simple, as we both know. And then you just need lead flow. leads. Like if you have something to deliver to a lot of people, you have a sales system that works, and you have loads of leads, you can just scale quite quickly. And that's something I've had wrong for years. You know, I didn't know. I was like, why do I keep hitting this ceiling? It's like, because you can't handle more than 40 clients. And my systems are different now to accommodate that. And that's something with the guys I'm working with as well, just looking at how can we actually leverage your time a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's like that belief you say as well. It's like if people think, like, if coaches, and I know myself, is like sometimes they think to themselves, and I've had this conversation a fair bit recently where they'll be like, I don't want to grow past 40 clients, for example, because I know the results in the service is going to drop. So if they say that subconsciously, or they say that in real life, then they always will get stuck to that point. But if, like you say, if they're like, the more clients that if I have 80 clients and somebody's on a community model, like they're actually going to get way better results because more people will show up to I can do group calls, I can do live events, I can do so much more, and everyone gets better results in general. And I think that kind of mindset shift as well here is massive.
Yeah, for sure. Again, community just comes up time and time again. I think it's where we're heading. Final question, Plammin. We've gone through 19. So the final question for you, and it's a good one to end on, as we are at the beginning of 2025, and so reflection is always up and at the top of your mind in the beginning of the new year and the end of the previous year. But what's something that you've learned about yourself in the past year?
That I can probably handle much more than I realized. I think there's been moments in 2024, and I think speaking to a lot of people, I think like a lot of people have, like, I think for me personally, it's just that I can handle a lot more than I realized, in the sense that I think there's been stuff that if I didn't go through, I didn't experience, I would have been like, I still maybe would have been a little bit blind to, in a sense, and being like, oh, like I can maybe put too much trust per se into like people, or like be too blind to stuff and be too stubborn. And I think this is one of the biggest lessons, is like just I can handle a lot more than I realized. I can probably push much more. But also the second one, being in a relationship as well, is like looking after myself better and just setting better boundaries. So one of my kind of biggest goals, alongside like monetary as in business, is like setting out my schedule and setting out my times to train, and also setting times for like date nights and relationships and spending time with people as well. So like don't neglect myself for too long anyway, and just because I'm super happy to work, I can I've had this conversation with business owners as well. Like they're like, you can, and it's very eye opening. It's like my friend said to me, it's like I've made a lot of money, but I've also not been a very good person. And that's kind of like hit me in a weird way. It's like I've slept late, I've woke up late, I didn't train, but I made lots of money and the business did well. It's like, is that what you want? So I guess that's kind of what I'm kind of really conscious towards this year. And then the hardship side of things for me is just more to almost have less anxiety, because I was like, okay, I can handle a lot and I'd still be fine and still kind of get through it. So I can probably handle a lot, so I probably shouldn't be as anxious about like things that might or might not happen for the future.
Yeah.
What's been one of yours?
There's been a lot. I think that the single biggest thing I've learned about myself, and I don't know if it was just this year, I knew it before, but I need to commit to one thing. And this year has been interesting for me as well, because I say this year, 2024, has been interesting for me as well, because I've committed on a lot of fronts. I've committed to a relationship. I've committed to one business, which for me, over the past 4 or 5 years, I've been like trying loads of different things. I've started like 3 or 4 different businesses. I've pivoted my fitness business multiple times to different things. I've just jumped around and done a lot of different stuff. And I've struggled to not get distracted and chase shiny objects. And this year has just really shown me that commitment to one thing is necessary. And I think also having the right person beside you in a relationship as well, which for me, I always like my freedom and the chaos and the lifestyle and running around doing all these crazy things. But the value of having somebody beside you who's committed and who supports you is so, so important for building a business, for building the life, and just like you said there, being a good person and doing the things that are right and in alignment with your values. So I think the big thing I learned about myself was that I'm actually able to commit to things, and I have to be able to keep focus and commitment to one thing if I want to really see it be like next level successful. And so this year, my entire 12 months of 2025 is just geared towards one business goal, one relationship, and enjoying my life on the side. That's it. Very simple, very focused, and very committed.
Yes, that singularity or focus thing is like an idiot can probably do. Someone said literally just before this, like this quote is like, an idiot can probably achieve much more than a genius if they just do one thing, and a genius tries and do like a million at once.
Yeah, and I think the idiot is like, I'm okay with this. I'm going to just do this.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe he's not the idiot. Maybe he's actually the genius. And yeah,
it's why, in my controversial opinion, but it's why Spotify is miles better than Apple Music. It's like Spotify does one thing, does it really well. Music, and like Apple tries to do like lots of different things, which is fine. Apple dominates in like iPhones, but it's like they don't do just one thing extremely well.
Yeah, it's interesting because Apple are offering me 2 months free,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, I'm going to pay Spotify instead. It doesn't really make sense. Well, that's our 20 questions. Now we got to see if our podcast studio worked, see if our audio is good, see if our lighting is good, see if we're going to create some more.
Awesome.
Anything you want to leave our viewers with before we wrap this one up?
Not so much, I guess. Just like you say, if they found it useful, if they found it helpful, just to let us know in the comments or whatever, and then we know it's been
For
good.
sure. We'll put the Instagram handles in the description below. You can find us both on Instagram and YouTube.